Hello and welcome to this first video presentation in the Waterwise workshop series. I'm Chris Lampard, your presenter, and today we're going to be talking about how to prepare your verge for a native garden. Now, most of you will be starting with a lawn, so let's have a look at a couple of lawns. We've got some beautiful ones on our street here, you can see, which are very well maintained, and here I am stood on the way you want your lawn to be looking by the time you come to plant your native garden. So how do you get to here? Now, I am assuming that most of you are starting with a lawn. That's the normal situation. It's possible that some of you don't have lawns to begin with. I can't cover every situation, so if you find yourself needing some advice about dealing with other environments, then please feel free to email me. I'm happy to help you out. The email is going to be at the beginning and the end of this video. Okay, so most of you are beginning with a lawn. That lawn is likely to consist of couch or buffalo, both of which are very invasive grasses. And it's very, very important at the start of this process that you do the best you can to remove your lawn. I've had plenty of experience of lawns which haven't been removed properly, and the grass will continue to regrow through your native plants, and this makes them look unattractive, stunts their growth, and leads to all sorts of problems in the future. So tackling the lawn really well at the beginning is very important. So you've got a lawn, how do you go about dealing with it? Well, you've got basically four options. Option one is do nothing. Strongly recommend you do not do nothing. Doing nothing will just mean that you have constant invasive grasses growing through your lawn, through your garden. You don't want them. Okay, so the three things that you can actually do to remove the lawn. Basically what it boils down to is you can dig the lawn out, mechanical removal, you can try and smother the lawn with something, or you can spray the lawn out with poison. I'm going to talk about all three of these at different levels of detail. Okay, so mechanical removal. When it comes to mechanical removal, I generally don't recommend using one of these. However, saying that, on my last workshop series last year, some people chose not to take my advice, and they did actually dig their lawn out over many weekends, over many months. I believe the way they approached it was just to say, okay, we're going to do this area, then they went at it, dug it out, and they told me they actually did quite well with that. However, that's a lot of work, which is going to take you a long period of time. You can do that if you want to, but if you do it, then I recommend that you really focus on getting every single piece of root out that you can, because any traces of root left in the ground will then grow back, and so you're going to have a constant ongoing weeding issue. Okay, the other way to mechanically remove a lawn is of course to bring in a machine, and the best machine for that is a bobcat. A bobcat's going to cost you around about $350 to $400 for a verge of this size, which I'm stood on here. That's for the bobcat and the truck. And what the bobcat will do is take off about this much of your topsoil, removing most of your lawn. Again, the issue is couch and buffalo and most invasive grasses have good deep root systems, particularly couch. So the bobcat is never going to be able to remove all of this root system, and so you will get regrowth. However, it does get you off to a good start. So mechanical removal using a bobcat is an option. The other thing to consider with a bobcat is that the bobcat will be doing a lot of damage as it cuts, and so any reticulation that you have in the ground will get broken as you're doing that. So you need to find where your retic is coming into the garden and make sure you blank that off before the bobcat gets there. Okay, so that's mechanical removal. Your second option, just move the spade, is to try and smother your lawn, and the best way to do that is to use black plastic. So here's a piece I used earlier. So this lawn, which you can see here, has been covered by black plastic like this. When you're laying black plastic, you're going to need to keep it very well weighted down. So in this site here, I was fortunate there was a lot of concrete and bricks available, which made it possible to put down the plastic and keep it in place. So the important things when you're smothering is you need material which has got no holes in it at all, which is going to create a really good barrier between the sun and your grass. And the other thing about smothering is, I'm sorry to have to tell you, is timing is very important. I've tried doing this over the winter. I started one in May and took it off coming into August, and the black plastic didn't do the job which I wanted. It killed some of the lawn, but no way had it killed it properly. This job needs to be done over summer. So the best time to put this plastic down is in November, and the best time to take it off is around about March. Then you're giving the lawn the whole of the summer, being thoroughly solarized, getting really, really hot, and that seems to then kill the root nice and deep. And saying that, this verge here has been solarized from November to the end of February, and as you can see, most of it is dead. But if you look here, you can see already we've got couch grass beginning to grow back. Now this area was properly covered with plastic. That plastic stayed down for the entire period, and you can see the couch is still growing back. However, the broader leaf grass, the buffalo, is dead. So it seems to me that different grasses are performing in different ways when they're being solarized in this way, when they're being smothered. It's just something to consider. I do think the approach is good, but of course with the timing of the workshop and you're probably going to be wanting to start your garden pretty soon, this option may not be for you. But if you were to delay your garden till next year, then you could solarize over next summer. So I'm just giving you that as an option. And the other thing is I really recommend using this black plastic. It's a builder's plastic. It's very thick, it's pretty robust. But when it's down, you do need to be very careful that it doesn't get punctured. So dogs running across it will puncture it, kids riding bikes across it will puncture it, walking on it can puncture it. So when you've got it down, you need to make sure it stays sealed. Any gaps, you need to come over and close them off with something else. Okay, that's smothering. So that's your first two options, is mechanical removal and smothering. And the third option is to spray your lawn out using a poison. And of course, the poison which is most commonly used is glycosphate, which is generally sold as the product Roundup. Now of course Roundup doesn't have a great reputation. It has been shown to be a carcinogenic material. It does cause cancer, so it needs to be handled with extreme care. And I think the problem has been in the past is that because the carcinogenity, the cancer-causing nature of Roundup wasn't well known, people weren't as careful as they could be. So they were exposing themselves to the chemical over long periods of time. This is very dangerous. So for most people, if you're just using Roundup on an occasional basis, maybe once or twice just to kill your lawn off, and you're very careful about your exposure, you should be okay. But you do need to keep in mind that glyphosate, Roundup, is a carcinogenic agent and needs to be treated and handled appropriately. And I'm going to show you how to do that now. So that's where we're going to next. I'm going to show you how to make up a poison to kill off a lawn. And I'm going to spray some of these areas where we've got couch grow through after the smothering process. Okay, so let's go and look at that. Okay, so poisoning your lawn using glycosphate. So I'm using this particular product here. This is just glycosphate 360, same as Roundup. Okay, so to do this, you're obviously going to need a spray bottle. This is a 5-litre spray bottle. I like this because usually 2 of these is enough for a big verge like the one I was just showing you. And very importantly, you're going to need a pair of gloves, and you're going to need one of these. Now this doesn't generally come with the glycosphate, it's a measuring cup. The important thing about the use of glycosphate is that you follow the manufacturer's recommendations in terms of dilutions. Of course, the temptation is always just to throw a bit in and throw a little bit more in, and then guys, chuck another bit more in. That doesn't work. You have to use it as specified on the back of the bottle, which is of course just underneath this label. And the recommended dose is for couch grass and buffalo grass for lawns is 15 mils of glycosphate 360 per litre of water. Okay, so I'm going to put my gloves on because I'm going to start handling the glyphosate in a minute, and I do not want this on my skin. And so the important thing in safety is keeping it off your skin, and if you do spill it on yourself, washing it off immediately. So I'm always very cautious with this. So I've got my gloves on. Now, one of the things I've discovered is it's much better to put the water in the bottle before you put the glyphosate in. If you put the glyphosate in first and then try adding the water, it'll foam up. The foam will come out across the bottle, off the top of the bottle, and you've got a very big exposure risk, and it's a mess. So I decide how much I'm going to make up. On this occasion, I'm going to make 3 litres of this up. Here's my hose, and I'm just going to put 3 litres of water into this bottle. I always forget where the gauge is. There it is, down there. Okay, watching somebody fill a bottle, great TV. Okay, so I've got roughly 3 litres in there, just slightly less because I'm going to be doing a bit of washing in, and then I'm just going to open my glycosphate. So 3 litres at 15 mils per litre is of course 45 mils. This is a 30 ml measuring cup. Now this is just a standard medicine cup which comes from, you know, a kid's medicine bottle. You can use this, or you can get ones which come with other poisons. Often you see them attached to the edge of the bottle. They're both very, very good. Obviously you don't want to mix your medicine cup up with your glycosphate cup. So once you use it once, make sure you keep it away from everything else. Okay, so I'm just going to put 30 ml in there, pour that into the top of here, and then I want 15, which is half the cup. A bit over, I'm a bloke, I'm always allowed to throw a bit more in. And then I want to wash this in very carefully. So I'm just going to put my hose on quite small, and I'm just going to wash the cup into here a few times. So you see I've washed it out, and I'm just going to wash around the top of the bottle, just to wash everything in there. Okay, so the glycosphate is now in there. I'm going to seal the unit off. Just screw that down. Okay, and now I'm going to stand up. Okay, and just going to put the lid back on the glycosphate so I don't kick it over, of course. Be careful with that. And then I've got the glycosphate in, I'm just going to give this a very good shake. Obviously you need to make sure it's well sealed before you do this. You would not want to shake it over yourself. Okay, and there we go. It's made up and we're ready to spray. So now I'm going to go and show you how to spray. That's it. Okay. Okay, so here we are. I want to be spraying out this little bit of lawn here. So here's my bottle of made up poison. I'm just going to pump this down. Now, as you can see, the bottle I'm using has got this handset which has got a long wand on the end of it. I like this because it means that the glycosphate, the poison, is always well away from me. It's down around my ankles, rather than a handheld which I'd be much closer to. And the other way I like to improve my safety is I don't like this on a fine mist. I like this on quite large droplets. And the reason I do this is twofold. One, it reduces my exposure by not having a fine mist blowing around. And the other thing is then that it also gives the plants a really, really good soak. So adjusting this does make a big difference. So then just also want to tell you about in terms of when to spray. So you can see we're spraying on a day where it's not too sunny. You don't want to spray too much in direct sun when it's really hot because the poison will dry off very quickly. The longer the plant is soaked with poison, the better it's going to work. You also don't want to do this when it's about to rain because that will wash the poison away. They generally recommend about 8 hours. You can get away with less than that, but 8 hours is a good number to go for. And also you really don't want to do it on a windy day. It's a little bit breezy today, but not really windy. But of course, if you do it on a windy day, you're going to get some drift. So if I'm spraying on a windy day, I always make sure that I'm upwind of the spray so that drift is going away from me. And my experience is that even if you get a little bit of drift onto an established shrub, it's not going to affect it. For something to be killed by glyphosate, it needs a really, really good soak. So I don't worry too much about a little bit of drift. And even when I'm working with an established garden, just spot spraying off grasses which have come back, I found that I could spray very close to the plants and not damage them. Okay, so here we go, I'm going to do some spraying. So first of all, I'm just going to show you out here on the road the sort of spray pattern I'm going for. So that's too much coming through. So you can see there, that's coming out quite big droplets and is just got a little bit of blockage in there. Oops, sorry. I didn't hit you, did it? Okay, that's a bit too much. Okay, so about that, that's going to give this ground a really, really good soak. Okay, so then doing that, now I'm just going to spray the grasses. Now you can see I'm aiming to get these really, really well soaked, because the better the coverage on the grass, the sooner it's going to die and the better it's going to work. And I think the thing with couch is because its root system runs so deep, you really want to get a good solid soak on there. Now you can see obviously I'm spot spraying here because I've previously killed this lawn using the smothering method. But if I was spraying this for the first time and it was a lawn, I would be, if you could just step back a little, I'll start here. I would start from one end and I would spray a pattern which was roughly the width of my body like this. So I would start here, and spray across and back and across and back, and working my way backwards. Then when I'd reach the end of that row, I would come and start down here and again do this. And I do it this way because it seems to me this is the best way to get really good coverage on a complete lawn. And the fact of the matter is, whenever you're spraying a lawn this big, you're bound to miss some pieces. So the best way to use the glycosphate is to spray once, and then it takes between 10 days and 2 weeks to actually work, so you won't see anything at first. The grass will stay green. I used to think that means it hadn't worked properly, so I would rush out and spray again, but I've since discovered it can take up to 2 weeks for this to work properly. After 2 weeks, come back and look. You'll be seeing a lawn looking like this, but you will have patches which you've missed or which have regrown. So then after a couple of weeks, you come back and do a respray. And so you hit those spots which are green, as this is here. And then after the second spray, the lawn should be pretty much dead. And then you're ready to start moving into the next stage, which is the planting. So that's all I really want to show you with the spray. And what I'm going to show you now is how to clean up after you finish spraying. And then we're just going to talk just generally the possibility for combining these different methods to give you the best chance of killing the lawn on your verge. Rolling. Okay, so I've been spraying out, and so one thing I did not mention is as you're going around spraying, you will occasionally need to kind of just top the pumping back up by just putting a few pumps in like that. And then you're going to reach a point where the poison's nearly run out, so you'll feel that because it's empty, and then this begins to happen. You can see the way that is beginning to spray. Okay, as soon as it starts doing that, I like to stop, because that's now, you can see a very fine mist is blowing away from me at the moment, but I don't like that mist. That's too much risk of exposure. So what I'm going to do is use the pressure relief valve here. Now again, this is going to spray a little bit, so again I hold it away from my body, upwind, so that any poison coming out is blowing away from me. So I'm just using, I'll just hold it up. Let me just get the pressure out and I'll show you. So it's just a pressure relief valve on the side. You just lift it up, lets the pressure out of the bottle. Once that's done, you can then loosen off the handle, and then we're ready for cleanup. So I'm just going to head back to the hose and do the cleanup. So I'm personally very particular about the cleanup of the bottle because this sits in my car and I don't want glycosphate in my car, spreading around inside my car. So I take this out, and then I start using the hose. I hope you're not going to get caught in any spray here. I'm just going to dispose of this on this piece of ground which has not got anything growing in it. You can throw it onto the drive or into the drain. The glyphosate does become inactive quite quickly, so it's not a problem. And so I do 3 washes of the bottle at this stage. So I'll do 3 washes like that. And then the last thing I want to do is make sure that all of this hose and the wand is clear of any materials. And so I'm just going to put some water into the bottle and just pump through. And just let this flow right through. And so you can see now I'm just kind of pushing all of the poison which has been in this pipe and in the wand is being pushed out and is being removed. And so this cleans that through. And then once I've done that for a little bit, I'll just release that again. And then the last thing I usually do at this stage is just hose everything down just to make sure there's no residue anywhere on the handle or on this piece. Whoops, sorry about that, did they get you?
That's a yes this time.
Did it, sorry about that. And then I usually just give the wash down. And then lastly, the hose is running a little bit fast for this, but usually then I just lastly, most importantly, give myself a wash down as an initial wash. And then once I'm finished and I'm indoors, I'll do a soap and water wash of all my arms and hands and also my face, just to make sure there is no risk of any exposure to glycosphate. And I feel in this way I'm able to use the poison without exposing myself to too much danger. So that's how to use glycosphate to spray out your lawn. So I've talked about the three different methods here, which is mechanical removal of the grass, digging it out either by hand or with a bobcat, smothering it with black plastic, and the third method, which is using the poison. And of course these are not exclusive to each other. You could do some combination of the three, which will give you a better effectiveness. So you can see in this case we've smothered our lawn, and now I've just spot sprayed out areas where it's coming through, and no doubt I'll be doing some digging as well, just to dig out any last grasses which are coming through as we come towards planting stage. So just to emphasize, they're not mutually exclusive. You can do combinations of all these three of these. Just do what works for you. But I would recommend some poisoning, because that's very quick and effective, and some digging at this time of year, and in future you might consider smothering if you're doing other areas of lawn.
Yes.
Okay, so just at the end there, Nicole, who's operating the camera for me, asked a couple of questions. So the first one was, why did I put the poison onto this ground here, and will it affect this beautiful bottlebrush tree here? The answer is no. Glyphosate works by being absorbed through leaves. So pouring it onto the ground doesn't affect the things around it. It has to be put on a leaf. That's why we use a spray to spray the grass. We want good coating of the leaf. So that's an excellent question. Thank you, Nicole. So there's no danger in putting it on there. And also the poison, when I was putting it on there, is very dilute. The bottle was already empty. There would just be a very little bit of residue. I was diluting that by a very large margin, pouring it on and then diluting it again and diluting it again. So any glyphosate on there would have been washed away. Then the other question Nicole asked me was, why didn't I clean the bottle out onto the lawn where I'd been spraying? And the answer to that is, once the poison is on, you do not want to wash it off. So taking the hose anywhere near the area where you've been spraying is not a good idea, because if I then say hose that lawn down now, the glyphosate would be washed away and it wouldn't work. So if you do accidentally spray something, you can of course just put a hose on it and wash the poison off and your plant will be fine, as long as you do that within about the first half hour. So that's why I wash up away from where I've been spraying. Okay, so that's all you need to know about removing the grasses and preparing your site for your native garden. The next thing we're going to talk about in the next video is how to set up a reticulation system, remove the existing retic system if you want to, and what you might consider for your watering options going forward. Okay, see you in the next video.